At exactly 8:34 in the night, my father arrives at the ball. The transport carriage he uses to travel during business is obvious to note. As he steps outside of it, everyone knows who he is, obviously. The fashionable gray business suit he wears, perfectly maintained, everything orderly, clean cut. His dark brown hair perfectly coiffed and combed. His mustache styled to perfection. He adjusts his shirt sleeves slightly as he exits, ensuring that he looks his absolute best for the party. After all, needs to be seen. He needs people to know where he's at. He needs people to know couldn't possibly have been anywhere else doing anything else. He enters the party nonchalantly. Some people greet him as he enters. "And hello to you, good sir," the butlers say as he passes by. He begins to scan the area, looking over it to see if he can find someone to spend some time with, perhaps have a business discussion, something memorable, something that people would be easily able to recall in order to ensure that everyone knows he's there. He couldn't have been anywhere else. But lo, to his surprise, as he scans through the crowd, looking for someone to have a conversation with, he is quite shocked and taken back to see my mother there at the ball, wearing a beautiful, elegant red dress, her hair pulled back into its styled bun, pinned together with beautiful red pins decorated with roses, pristine red shoes, long, elegant silk red gloves, a beautiful glass of red wine swirling in her hand. A man bumps into him as he starts to make his way over. He has to know why she's there, how she's there. "Pardon me, could you fetch me another glass of wine?" the man asks my father. My father brushes him off. "Of course not. What do I look like? Begone with you." "Well, I never," the man replies, as my father marches towards my mother's position. "Hello, dearest," my father says to my mother. "I'm glad you could make it to the party, my dear." My mother, looking beautiful, looks to my father. "Oh, of course. You did send me the invitation after all." "And what of Regiment?" my father asks. "Oh, I do believe he's playing somewhere with some of his little friends. I believe they went inside. We could go look for them if you wish." "No, I don't think that will be necessary," my father replies, still a bit shaken. "Perhaps we could find somewhere to have a private discussion. There are some things I wish to ask you about how affairs have been going in my absence, of course." "Oh, no problem, dear." She takes him in her arm, and arm in arm, she begins to lead him towards the estate. I believe they have allotted some private rooms within the estate for people to have discussions. It should be quite simple. Into the estate they walk. The manor is, as expected, quite well furnished, cleaned immaculately, and looking presentable for the event. My father and my mother make their way down one of the hallways in the bottom floor. At the end of the hallway, they find a red door. "I believe this is the one that they have reserved," my mother says to my father. "We should be able to relax," she says, opening the door. My father, seeming in a bit of a rush, quickly steps in, my mother walking gently behind him, closing the door as they walk through. Suddenly, my father stops. There's something untoward about this situation, something that doesn't make sense. As his eyes take in, it appears as if he's back at home, in his very own office. The decorations are the same, the adornments the same, his scholarships, his trophies, his ribbons, all decorate the office. His paperwork, right where he left it. Everything in its proper place, except for the place. The place isn't in its proper place. How? How would his office be in another man's estate? What is going on? What is this? Why is this my office? He turns around, looking to speak to my mother, but she's not there. The red door they pass through gone. All that lies behind him now is the regular doors, the double doors to his office, the ones he sees every day at home. What in the blazes is going on? Well, it's our home, Father, he hears announced from behind him. He turns and looks. And there I sit, upon his desk, one leg crossed over the other, smiling. Well, we've been waiting for you at home for quite some time, Father. It's good you've returned. We need to have ourselves a family talk. Regimen, what is the meaning of this? Get off of my desk, boy. Oh, dear me, Father. Please don't get upset, I said with a sneer. You know, my day has actually been quite interesting. You see, I was just on a carriage ride, one bound for the party you were just at. The look on my father's face begins to turn to anger and confusion. What was going on? What the blasted is this? My father thinks. If you were on the carriage ride, then why are you here? What is the meaning of this, boy? Oh, well, it's quite simple, Father. I'm here because those men you hired were simply incapable of killing me, I said, hopping down from the desk. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about them telling on you. They, of course, didn't know who you were in the first place, but if someone were to look at the money trail, it could probably lead back to you, if they could catch them, of course. But you don't have to worry about that happening. After all, at this point, they're all dead. It was quite a grisly affair, actually. What nonsense are you talking about, boy? My father shouts, turning at me. Whatever would give you the nonsense idea that I attempted to kill you? This has to be a trick. There's no way he could have known. How would he have found out? My father thinks to himself. Everything was planned perfectly. They would die whilst I was at the ball. No one would be able to doubt my alibi or my motive. None of this makes sense. What's going on? Oh, it's really quite simple, Father. I received some information. Someone, let's call him a friend, told me the whole story about you, about your plans to be rid of us, about the family you wish to use to replace us, even your reasons for doing it. Everything is crystal clear, Father. There's really no need to lie about it, I said, slowly starting to take a pace around the room. How does he know? My father thinks to himself. What is going on? I was just at the party, and yet now I'm home. And what is Reginald been doing? How does he know all this? No, it doesn't matter. The important question is how to deal with it. He's just a child. I could overpower him easily. The only question is there anyone to hear it? But that still doesn't explain anything. What about the party? How did I get home? The answer is magic, Father, I said, still taking my general slow pace. What? My father replied, in shock. It's very simple, Father. It's magic. You know, that silly nonsense you read about in books. You see, while you were away, I picked up some new talents. Mainly, the ability to use magic. It's quite useful in a great number of things. In fact, if you had magic powers, this might be a much more even contest between us. Excuse me, boy? Contest? Between us? Utter nonsense. Magic? Still, that too, nonsense. There is no such thing, and to state that there could be any sort of contest between you and I is an insult. I am a true businessman with decades of experience. You are a child. And if you do not correct your tone quickly, boy, you will regret speaking to me as if we are equals. I am your father. You will respect me, my father says, beginning to clench his fists, grinding his teeth in anger. Oh, I'm afraid those days have gone and passed, Father. You see, while you planned this night in order to give yourself an alibi, and ensure that we were no longer a problem to you, I found out about it about a week or so ago. And since you were so nice as to put together this plan for me, I thought it only fitting that I put together a little plan for you. A contest between your wits and mine to see whose would reign superior. Your advantage? Money, power, influence. My advantage? Magic. To see wins. And at this point, Father, it looks like the jury is out. You walked headfirst into my little trap, and now the game's over. My entire plan is worked out absolutely perfectly for the night. I planned it all down to the last detail, you see. The carriage ride that was supposed to be waylaid by bandits, as you'd like them to be called, that was supposed to contain myself and my mother, in actuality only contained 2 people. Not even the driver of the carriage was actually there. It was all an illusion presented by me. A construct ability that I produced just for the occasion. I call it mass perceptual control. I know it's kind of a long name, but it's kind of a interesting thing. This ability is quite unique. You see, it allows me to control the perceptions of everyone within 100 feet of me, meaning they see what I want them to see. If I were to convince somebody that they were underwater, they would feel as if they were. If I wanted to convince somebody that they were in an entirely different place, they would of course feel as if they were. If I want to convince somebody that they're having a conversation that they're not actually having, of course to them, they perceive that they are having that conversation. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm simply in control of everything that everyone perceives. Hot, cold, windy, calm, night, day, presence or absence of presence, it doesn't matter. People see, hear, smell, taste what I tell them they can taste, what I tell them they can smell, what I tell them they can see and hear. It's all under my control, so long as you're within 100 feet of me, of course. It's as simple as a subconscious suggestion, a suggestion that things are what I say they are. This was the primary weapon I used against those little bandits. As I said, there were actually only 2 people in the carriage. Myself,
Alice.
Wallengard. I was sitting inside the carriage, and
Alice.
who was the driver. Of course, they saw a regular driver, somebody made to look like one of the employees of the Worthington estate. In actuality, they didn't even really see me. They only saw me where I wanted them to see me. When you're in complete control of someone's perceptions, you'd be surprised how easy it is to basically do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. They can't see or hear you unless you want them to. So, disposing of them was actually very easy, especially with Alice. She added a very nice touch, mixing reality with illusion. You should have seen the terror on their faces. And as far as getting you here, that was a simple matter as well. A new spell that I recently picked up, the ability to transport someone via a magical doorway of sorts that can take one from one place to another simply by walking through a doorway. You didn't find it suspicious at all that there was a single red door in that mansion. None of the other doors were red, Father. I could have made the door any color I wanted. Could have made you perceive it as brown or whatever I liked. I could have made the doors identical to the ones in the mansion, where you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. But I left it red. You might ask why. Frankly, it was a test, Father. Once again, the game's not fair if there's no equality in it, if there's nothing to perceive. So, I left you a few little clues. Mother's beautiful red dress, the ominous red door at the end of the hallway, even that interaction with the man that you bumped into. Didn't you think it odd? I mean, a man of your business stature doesn't usually get asked to go fetch wine for someone else, does he? Is that something that most high-class businessmen are used to? I'd rather doubt it. You see, as I said, I'm in control of everything. Everything that people perceive, so long as they're within 100 feet of me. And I'm sorry to tell you, Father, but your little alibi plan isn't going to work because no one at the party saw you. When you exited the carriage, I made sure that they saw someone else, a different businessman. And when you finally got to the party, you weren't a businessman at all. You were a butler. That's obviously not who you are, but with a little help from magic, that's who everyone saw. Have you figured it out yet, Father? The plan? You see, the truth is, you never went to the party, at least not as far as anyone else is concerned. Once we're done here, I'll go have a little chat with the butler. I learned a very helpful spell that will easily remedy his memory of the night's events. As far as anyone else will be concerned, you came straight home. Not only that, but you wrote letters to all the staff of the house, giving them a night off for their hard work, wanting the house to yourself. Do you see now, Father? You're all alone. There's nobody here but you and me. No one knows that you've been anywhere else, and no one's going to. This night is the night that you decided to choose my fate. And so, in return, I've concocted a plan to decide yours. It's quite ironic, isn't it, Father, that you meant tonight to be a night about choosing my fate, and in the end, tonight will decide your own.